Hey, Constantine, this is Ryan with TrendLizard.com. Thanks for signing up recently to our service. Very glad to have you aboard. I hope you like what we do, and thank you for the kind words in your email. I'm going to take a look at a few stocks for you. We're going to take a look at Zim Integrated Shipping Services, ZIM, MicroStrategy, MSTR, and then Blackstone, BLK, in that order. So we're going to start with Zim. All three of these guys were pretty interesting, not super apparent, so it definitely took some work to break down their charts and see what was going on, but this is my best effort for everybody else. Come visit us at trendlizard.com. We have recently started covering stocks as well as crypto in addition to our ETF analysis, so hopefully that is something that is up your alley, and we do this stuff in real time every day to show you where we think these guys are in the Elliott Wave pattern. Obviously, these are just my opinions on where they are, using everything I have in my toolbox to understand where they may be in their progression of 5-wave advances and ABC pullbacks to understand if they're good buying opportunities. So without further ado, Zim was incepted earlier this year, I guess about a year ago, actually early 2021. Pretty hard to say exactly where it is. Obviously, just because it was incepted here doesn't mean this was the start of a 5-wave pattern. What it looks like to me is a 3, 4, and 5 that completed, and then the largest, basically one of the largest pullbacks that it's undergone, which wasn't even terribly that big, was this ABC pullback here that ended in July, and then some advancing movement off of that low, what looks like a 5-wave advance, a larger pullback clearly, and then some upside movement that has moved to new highs. Not apparently trendy, pretty difficult to label this action right here, but obviously the trend is up and the trend is our friend, and in my view, it's one of those deals where you just say, expect trendy movement if the trend is up and we're getting upside action unless indicated otherwise, and that'll make sense as we go. But let's go ahead and zoom in and try to look at some of the possible ways to label this more recent action here. So this is that advance, step back out. This is the advance off of this low here. Not a 4th wave. That's bad number there. I apologize for that. Just going to delete it real quick. Get that out of there. There we go. Okay, so here's the start of that move, again, starting back here off of July's low to the upside. It looks like a very clean, trendy 5-wave move to the upside, and then an ABC pullback. All of this was clean. It gets more difficult off of October's low. It's been choppy and overlapping and not super clear. I found 2 potential ways to label that move. One is shown here with you have a first, a second wave, and then action in a 3rd wave that's not yet complete. You have a smaller degree first and second wave here. Which is necessary just because of the overlap that happens to label it that way. Now, if this was the correct labeling, Zim has no business trading below 59.75 at all times. So that is a key level that we're keeping an eye on. We would know that if this really bullish labeling is playing out, no business being below that level. So that's just something to keep in mind as we go. Let's take a look at another way to label this advance off of October's low. This changes it and calls this entire move off October's low a leading diagonal 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th wave to the upside. And again, you're just talking about extended advances to the upside. All of this would be just wave 1 of a larger 3rd wave advance in the green degree. Both are obviously very bullish. I can't find any way to label it otherwise. It's hard to be super confident again because this just isn't jumping off the charts, but these are my best efforts. The point of this one is if this was correct, technically, it could move as low as, right above 52 before doing any damage. So I think at the end of the day, basically, until something happens to the contrary, you'd have to be bullish on Zim because the trend is up. There are trendy movements to the upside. It's hard to label it as a completed move. It's not super clear. There's different ways to label it, but nevertheless, the trend is up, and hopefully that becomes clear as things progress over time. But again, if we look at that first one, labeling 59.75 is the level I'm looking at there, 52. I would use both levels, but really look at that 59.75 as some type of warning if it were to turn around and move below that low. As is, pretty much every up leg we're seeing has not been retraced by more than 61.8% at any point. So if that happens, you get a nice trendy up leg that's retraced by more than 59.75, then, it retraces more than 61.8%, then there's a little bit of trouble in paradise there, so that would be a warning. Let's zoom in one more time. This looks at the advance off of January's low. It does look like a trendy 5-wave move. This is my best effort at labeling it. Again, it's not super apparent, but this is as good as I was able to find. It again shows that 59.75, but on this shorter time frame, a move below 69 could be an indication that this 5-wave advance is completed and some type of larger correction is taking place from there. And from there, we're watching those key levels, 59.75 as the first warning of something bigger to the downside, and a move below 52, opening the door to something even bigger. So I'd say bullish, not super clear, but very bullish. And as long as it doesn't cause any damage, I say you expect higher prices ahead. So that was about the easiest one. Let's move on now to take a look at MicroStrategy, MSTR. We have to look at this one in a couple different ways. And I'll show you why. This here is a linear scale of MicroStrategy, just to kind of put it into perspective what happened in 99, 2000, chopped around. Obviously, these were some decently big moves. On a linear scale, it doesn't look it, but I just want to put that into the perspective of what this has accomplished here, this recovery off the 2020 low. To show you it's still a relatively small move, obviously, to this sharp up move here. But with this on the chart, it's pretty hard to say, oh yeah, this is clearly trendy bullish price movement, when so far it's only been able to retrace about 38.2% of this big up leg here, which is what the bottom of the yellow area is, top of the area being yellow area being 61.8%. So let's change the scale. Let's look at this in a linear form here. That looks at that big sharp decline, clearly a 5-wave move. And then this recovery that overall generally looks like a 3-wave move. It's hard to say for sure. Again, just because it just doesn't jump off the charts. But this is a starting point anyway. So let's try to label this action here. Here is that effort. This is off the 2002 low, maybe a first, a second wave, and then a first and a really long second wave. Hard to love that. But then you have this really sharp advance here, and now a correction that's retraced more than 61.8%. Hard to love that as well. But nevertheless, you are getting trendy upside action, and so far we haven't seen anything to the downside that looks like trendy movement. As you can see, even on this large time frame, this pullback off the 2021 high looks like a 3-wave move so far. So let's go ahead and zoom in. This takes a closer look at that pullback here. And the bullish thing, the thing to like about it, is the pullback in 2021, early 2021, looks like a very clear ABC down leg. From there, you get a very clear counter trend. B-wave is what we're calling it, and then this breakdown to new lows. So overall, this looks like it could be an ABC move. If so, that's bullish, because that would mean that the trend is still up. Now, it still has work to do to confirm that it's only an ABC, and obviously the big thing that could happen there would be a move above 665. Now, that would take a huge move, obviously, to get up there. Pretty hard to wait that long for that kind of thing. But it's a level to keep in mind on the longer time frames to see if this guy is able to do that and get back above this level to make this a counter trend move and to indicate that the trend is still up. So let's go ahead and zoom in again just on this down leg. Here is a look at that move. I'm not seeing any clue yet that it's over. It's also a fairly difficult move to label. This is my best effort, but it looks incomplete to me with the best labeling I can find. I think the bigger thing to take away is the recovery off of January's low here is a very clear 3-wave move so far. If at any point it moves below 370, this would be left as a 3-wave move. That would obviously indicate that the down leg is not yet over and that lower prices are coming. If it's able to instead move above 500 in its travels here, that would look bullish and would greatly increase the chance that this down leg is over, and then maybe you start getting that larger upside action. As far as trading it, in a downtrend, we have so many issues here. This thing has retraced more than 61.8%. It's really hard to label. There's a lot of issues that make it hard to be just outright bullish on this guy. For me, if I wanted to trade this thing, I would want to see a trendy 5-wave move to the upside, and then I'd want to see that be corrected by a little ABC pullback, which would then pave the path to a bullish resolution. We're not seeing anything like that yet. All we're seeing is a downtrend. A nice bounce, but still just a 3-wave bounce so far. And let's zoom in a little bit closer on that. This is that bounce. It's just a 3-wave move so far. Maybe it's a first and a second and an incomplete 3rd wave. That would be nice. If that's the case, it'll stay above 370, and it'll ultimately, again, give us a 5-wave move to the upside. And that would pave the path that, hey, this guy is finally giving us something bullish on the chart that we can define and use to trade. Before then, I would be careful on MicroStrategy. So let's move on now to Blackstone, BLK. Here is its chart from its inception back in 1999. It's obviously been having a very good time. To the upside, it's been a very nice move. Again, not super easy to label this on a linear scale. So sometimes what I'll do, as you saw on the previous one, is we'll change it up, look at a linear scale, just look at it in different lights to see if anything jumps out. So let's go ahead and do that. This here is a linear scale, and it does seem to make more sense when we do that. Have some action here, a larger pullback relatively, and then from here we start getting cleaner movement. You can see a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth wave. Pretty clear 5-wave move, and then you get this larger ABC pullback. This is very clear. And then obviously it's taken off to the upside off of that 2020 low like so many things did to the upside. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this action off the 2020 low. Here is that move. This is how I have it labeled: a first, a second wave, a larger third wave, kind of a funky fourth wave in there, but a larger third wave, and then in a fourth wave pullback, which is kind of where we have us on a lot of different things that we're looking at trendlizard.com. So this is the expectation. So let's go ahead and zoom in what we can figure out about this pullback. Real quickly before we do, if this is in fact a fourth wave, we do not want to see it move below this yellow area around 670, 675 or so. If it moves below there, this becomes problematic because then we'll start talking about this being a completed move already and that I got it wrong with this labeling and that something larger to the downside is happening. So if that happens, looks bullish, that would be a warning. If we step back out, that would mean that this up leg right here is completed and is undergoing correction, which opens the door to a larger pullback. So that's the significance of the lower end of that yellow area around 675. So let's go ahead and zoom in just on the pullback. Here's that move. So far, it is a 3-wave move. A, B, C. Doesn't mean it's going to be left that way, but it certainly has the potential to be. If it is a fourth wave, as it appears to be, it should be. If it can get above 860, then this will be left as an ABC move. That would be a bullish event, and that would point it back to above the current high that was recorded in November as a large, trendy 5-wave, fifth wave advance plays out. Conversely, if it is unable to do that and instead peters back down through 780, this becomes a counter trend move here. Suddenly this down leg starts looking like a 5-wave move. Obviously that changes everything. So for me, I would be bullish on BLK as long as it's above 780. That would be bolstered by a move above 860. But if it does move above 780, I'd be concerned. I would not no longer be interested in owning BLK because then you have what looks like a trendy downside move, and then you start talking about a much larger high being in place, which again opens the door to a much larger decline. So Constantine, again, thanks for coming and checking us out. Let me know if you have any questions about this analysis. Everybody else would love to see you at trendlizard.com. We do this stuff every day on over 70 different instruments at this point, between ETFs, stocks, cryptos. We look at all this stuff and draw lines in the sand to tell you what needs to happen for bullish events and bearish events so that we can find good, low risk, high potential reward trade setups. So have a great day. Talk to you soon.